guys, I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and AT&T customers that are used to saying, well, I have the iPhone, but then if I want another smartphone, I feel like I'm taking a step down. Not necessarily the case anymore. Windows Phone 7 is coming to AT&T as of Monday with the HTC Surround and the Samsung Focus. Both will be available on Monday, November 8th. An entirely new platform for Microsoft, entirely new platform for AT&T, and it's one of several devices, Windows Phone 7 devices rather, that's coming out in the coming months. Exciting news for AT&T, exciting news for Microsoft, and we're going to do a review of the HTC Surround to see, can it really hold its ground against the iPhone or the Captivate or some of the other devices on AT&T. But first, special thanks to our friends at Best Buy Mobile for hooking us up with not one, but two HTC Surrounds for use in our One Paw Bandit giveaway. You know, the cool thing, when you go to Best Buy to pick up this HTC Surround, you're going to get it for the after rebate price. So instead of paying $299 with a $100 mail-in rebate and waiting 8 to 10 weeks for that and filling out the messy paperwork, you know how it is, you can walk into Best Buy and get this for $199 out the door before tax. So it saves you some time, saves you money in the short term, and saves you the stress of dealing with rebates. But enough of that. Special thanks to our friends at AT&T for hooking us up with a review unit. Let's get started in the review. So here it is, the HTC Surround with AT&T. It's one of two Windows Phone 7 devices that are coming to AT&T next week, Monday, November 8th. This is one of them. It's going to retail for $199.99 after rebates. Now, in terms of hardware, absolutely gorgeous. I talked about this a little bit in the unboxing, but this phone feels great in the hand, and like all of HTC's devices, the Windows Phone 7 devices at least, they feel great in the hand. They're made of premium quality materials, and they just look good to boot. I mean, you take a look at this up close and see what you think. I mean, it's metal accents, nice grippy battery door on the back, very clean looking camera, chrome around the micro USB charging port, very good looking, clean top, ear area looks good, and then of course the Dolby surround speaker with the kickstand. Very cool there, very great looking device, minimalistic with the three capacitive buttons on the bottom, and just feels great in the hand. Some people may think it's a little bit weighty. I don't think so. It feels good in the pocket. To me, I've been very pleased with it. But if you are curious about the weight, it comes in at about 6 ounces, 6.02 ounces to be exact. Now, on to Windows Phone 7. When you get to Windows Phone 7, you're essentially looking at two menus the entire time. You're looking at your main screen, and then scroll over or click the arrow at the top, and there's your menu. So you're stuck on one of these two screens at all times while you're working with Windows Phone 7, unless you're actually in a program. So let's take a look. Out of the box, this is what it looks like. AT&T, the phone icon at the top, people, messaging, email setup, and then of course AT&T's Uverse Mobile, and a couple of other icons here. I don't want to spend too much time on those because you can change those out of the box if you want to move AT&T Radio out of it, for example. You can do that. Take Marketplace, scroll it down, pop it in place, and let's say we want to do calculator. Say, we always need a calculator. And we'll move it in the place of Marketplace. So customizable there. You can do whatever you want to with the icons, change those around, modify those. The interesting thing I ran into is you can't control which ones are rectangles and which ones are square. So if you wanted Internet Explorer to be a square, or a rectangle rather, for example, you can't do it. It's only as a square. Hopefully in future versions, they'll allow it to where you can have little text notifications on the side and such. On to messaging, just touching on some neat little touches I've seen since I've been working with the device for about a week. When you get a message, originally it's a smiley face. It winks when you get one, and when you get more than about 3 or 4, it makes the face with the mouth open. So it's funny, the face changes depending on the messaging, or the number of messages you have. I thought that was funny. And then when you have a missed call or a voicemail, it lights up or shows up in this area as well. So let's look into the contacts first. Call history pops up by default, and you'll see at the bottom there are 3 icons: voicemail, your dial pad, and your contacts. So voicemail, of course, dials straight into voicemail. We don't need to take a look at that right yet. But let's have a look at the dial pad. Nice big dial pad. Looks good. Very easy to dial while you're walking. Although I wouldn't recommend it. But nice big dial pad. Great looking numbers. You can see very pretty there. And the whole operating system, you're going to hear me say this several times in the review, but that minimalistic operating system, it's just pretty. I mean, they've done a really good job. And, for me, after 3 or 4 days of using this, I was like, quite frankly, I was like, wow, this came from Microsoft. Like, Microsoft's known for at least in the consumer world, is, you know, things take 3 or 4 times to open, whereas on a Mac or on some other platform it takes 1 or 2 times. Not the case anymore. Very easy, very simplistic, easy to use out of the box. And when I showed this to some of my friends that aren't as phone savvy, they immediately took to it within 5 or 10 minutes. So very interesting on that front. Interesting to see that even with a beginner or first-time smartphone buyer, they're able to get it out of the box. Now, in terms of applications, you get your typical AT&T stuff, Family Map, Wireless, Navigator, Radio, UVerse Mobile, and then, of course, you can download things from the marketplace as you see fit. But Microsoft provides Internet Explorer, Maps, Xbox Live, Office, and, of course, your typical stuff like People, Phone, Settings, and then your Zune music player. So, interesting thing for me, you know, I'll show you right now, actually, going into the marketplace, let's have a look at it, because it is pretty cool, and you'll notice the text. I mean, the whole thing, complete revision for Microsoft from Windows Mobile 6.5. And, you know, when I first saw this in the emulators at CES and CTIA and some of the trade shows, I was like, I don't really like this. I don't like how the text fades off to the side. It's big. The pictures are kind of obnoxious. But using it for a week or using it for 10 days, I've been really pleased. They did a good job. Again, transitions are exceptionally smooth. No lag whatsoever. You know, and again, you know, granted, this device doesn't multitask. It's still, you know, very much a version 1.0 OS in that fact. It doesn't multitask. It doesn't copy and paste, or it doesn't allow copy and pasting, rather. You know, so that speed boost is coming from the fact that when you close out of the marketplace, you close out of it. There's no running in the background. There's no, you know, nothing's running in the background. You know, that's part of the reason why when I'm scrolling, the transitions are so smooth, because it's devoting most of the system resources to what I'm doing right this second. Let's have a look at the apps, for example, and you'll see AT&T has their App Center. HTC has some apps. HTC's, there's still an element of sense, even in Windows Phone 7 on HTC, with what HTC calls the HTC Hub. And I'll show you that in just a second. But you can download some apps for the Hub, games, entertainment. But let's just take a look, you know, news and weather, for example, and you can see up at the top, you can group it by top, new, or free. And to get to those, you can either click or you can scroll from right to left or left to right. But let's just have a look. You know, for example, I want to download the Weather Channel. I just want to show you what it's doing. Install, sign in. Now I'm going to sign in to my my live account, and I want you to see what's happening. This is happening to a select number of new Windows Phone 7 users, and it's extremely frustrating because I've called Microsoft about it. And as of right now, at least, there's no prompt in their customer service line to where it handles it. See, activation failed. It said, we were trying to activate your phone without troubling you about it, but they need an activation code to continue. Now, when I call support, it redirects me to AT&T. AT&T didn't know what I was asking for when I asked for an activation code. So I looked it up on Microsoft's website, and it said, call Microsoft. So I called Microsoft, requesting an activation code, and it brought up an automated voice prompt, and it never asked me anything about Windows Phone 7. It brought up Windows 7, Windows Server 7, everything but Windows Phone 7. So hopefully they'll fix that when it actually sees its retail launch on Monday, but if not, some customers are going to be frustrated, and if you read through the forums, you'll see that I'm not the only person that had that issue. Let's go into pictures real quick, just jumping around. And you can see again, you know, very, very smooth. Transition effects look great. You know, I turn it to the side. I don't turn it to the side in that one, I lied. Turn it to the side. Pictures transition very easily with no lag whatsoever. And then you can, you know, scroll and have a look at your pictures. These are definitely not pictures I took. These are pre-installed on the device. But we'll back out. And you can select by all, date, or favorite. So if we group it by date, all these are set in July 2010, we can change to favorites. So it's very much a swipe-based user interface. Swipe left to right, up to down, you know. Very easy to use on that front. Now let's look at HTC's Hub. Jump to that here at the bottom, and you'll see what I mean. You know, elements of sense are still installed in the HTC Hub. It's going to bring up this graphically pleasing, like, clouds. There it is. The clouds are going to move. And then you see the typical clock that you remember from HTC Sense. And then some of the apps that you can that are either installed or you can download from the from the marketplace. And we'll see here. Okay, so it brought up Charlotte. It is not it's in Celsius. I was like, it is not 13 degrees outside. And we can change that, but you get an idea. Brings it up, very graphically pleasing. nice big 13 degrees Celsius, and then the weather for the next 4 days. So you can customize those settings down here. And again, very minimalistic, even the options within these programs and within the menus, very simple. And in order to, for example, somebody looks at the plus and says, I don't know what that does, or the 3 bars, you can click here, lift it up, and it'll give you more in-depth, idea of what it is. Add locations or refresh rather. And then, of course, some of the other options that the program has. So those are there. Those are there as well. Let's jump back into messaging, because I think the messaging app is pretty cool. Again, look at the transition. I can't get over the transition effects. If it was coming from iOS or something like that, where they've had a historically good track record of transitions, it would be less important. But coming from Windows Mobile, really, take a look at these transitions. Fades out, comes in, very clean, very good looking, and then of course, no lag. So I just can't highlight that enough. In a world of or in the past where Windows Mobile was pretty slow and pretty laggy and kind of frustrating, it's not the case anymore with Windows Phone 7. At least I've had no lag in my time working with it. So you'll see Windows Phone is, in this example, is the contact. You'll see it's threaded text messaging with the little chat bubbles, very similar to the iPhone and iOS as well. But it's a read-only message, so I can't respond. But again, you'll see at the bottom those little small circular buttons, send and attach a file. So when you're in a message, very clean, very easy, and then delete conversation. So we'll just send a text test message because I want you to see what the keyboard looks like. It's very, when I saw these devices at CTIA, I was surprised at how good the keyboard actually was. I was expecting it to be a little bit, little rocky and not as easy to use as iOS or Android, but I've been very pleased with the keyboard. The auto correction's very good. Let's just type in, doesn't matter. And then we'll type in the message. You see it auto-corrected that for me. Quick Brown Fox is awesome. I honestly don't plan what I type in advance. I just type that. So if it makes no sense, I'm sorry. The Quick Brown Fox is awesome, and let's transition over to the landscape keyboard so you can take a look at that. And you can see it has a nice little click to it.